So like when I love chips and salsa. So like just Tostitos, that's garbage. So for me, like there's at Harvest Market, they have an unbelievably good hot sauce that's with ghost peppers.
Okay.
So I eat ghost pepper hot sauce with my chips.
Wow.
I love hot.
Hot sauce or a salsa?
Both. Both, but I don't. I'm not as big a salsa fan as I am salt. I mean, I like, but it's really hard to make it too hot for me. And this dip, it's got a little bit of sweet to it, so it's really addictive. You just keep eating. 15 minutes later, you can't breathe, and but it's.
Yeah.
Everybody in the back ready? Pretty good? We're ready, Coach.
I'm not sure I am right now. Man, went down the wrong way. I'm still. I think the break came at the right time. You were 6 games in, and we had 5 in 12 days, and the last part of that I thought was fairly challenging. Real late game at Wisconsin, and then a quick turn with the morning game here at home against a very, very physical Rutgers team. So it was. And watching that film, I thought we were a little sluggish, but found a way to grit that out. So we obviously took Sunday off, practiced Monday and Tuesday. There were recruiting days for our staff, and then took Wednesday off, and then came back and got back into game prep mode as we head into Northwestern and a 4:00 tip tomorrow. So. We've had an opportunity to work on a few things, add a couple things. I thought they've been productive practices, and you always get a little bit apprehensive this time of year when you do get too much time off. Sometimes you just like to play, but Northwestern's playing great. They're a team that is extremely big. They're a team that shoots it at every spot. I'm fascinated with Spencer, their point guard, in terms of being a young guy who's so dominant in another sport, being at the top of his game and coming out after 4 years. And his intangibles and leadership are very, very evident. His athleticism is very evident. And then Miller Kopp's having an outstanding season, and a guy that's 6'6", 6'7", playing the 2 is a problem for a lot of guys in this league, not just us. So we've got to be very good. They're mixing up defenses, and the break's given us an opportunity to spend some time on those things, and they run great action. Chris is a very, very good offensive mind and offensive coach, and does a great job of controlling tempo, so we'll have to handle all those things tomorrow.
I mean, they've had a couple injuries that have maybe forced them to go with an even bigger lineup. What kind of challenge is that for your team, where Spencer 6'3", but then 6'7" through 6'10"?
Yeah, they're basically starting 3 guys who could all play small forward and power forward, and then Young inside at 6'11", and I don't know if Bowie will be back. He's gotten off to a terrific start as a freshman in conference play. I think in conference play he's averaging 16 a game. I think he was to be evaluated later in the week, so I don't know what his status will be. They got challenges. They pose challenges. They're very good on the offensive boards. They're deceiving. They've been out. They out-rebounded Iowa in their last ball game. There's a lot of post-up opportunities for those guys at that size, and they take advantage of that.
In addition to that, they seem fairly young. Is there an extra challenge in scouting or preparing for young teams? Are they more unpredictable?
Well, Chris has got a pretty good system going, and in terms of what he's very comfortable with, I think they're a team that continually is getting better. They're better than their record is showing, and they're a team that's playing awfully hard. They're fighting, and you have to maintain for 40 minutes against them. And you look at home against Michigan State. I mean that's a 2-possession game. Midway into the second half, and they're right there, and you've got to compete against them. And this young team's getting better. Turner, as a guy coming off the bench that hurt us last year, Turner's playing great. He's shooting the cover off of it right now. So they're continuing to improve, which I'm sure is making Chris very happy.
Brad, this is the first time seeing Northwestern this year. The first game last year at their place was in the Turner 3. And is there a benchmark that you can kind of look and see how much further most of these guys are back that this group is compared to where you were at that point and doing things differently, like rebounding improvements?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Big Ten tournament game last year, and I mean, we missed. I think that was a game that Georgie had 16 at half, and the rest of our team had 14, or somewhere in there, and we missed so many layups and didn't guard very well. And again, it's nice to see some growth there, and that's been really positive for us. So I hope we're that team tomorrow.
Brad, over the last couple of weeks and this last week for having a week off, what have you learned about your team specifically?
Well, I love our connectivity. I think that we're not satisfied by any stretch of the imagination. I think that we've heard enough talk about being ranked, and first time since 2014. It's the middle of January, and I understand the significance of it, and to me it's mind-blowing. It really is that it's been that long, but it's January, and you've got to continue to keep plugging away, to keep getting better, and that's happening. Our guys want to get better. The break has been very positive for us in terms of guys in the gym and guys understanding what we're doing, and that's exciting.
Follow up on that, Io mentioned go from being the hunter to the hunted, having the rank of being up there in the Big Ten standings. How do you judge if this team's ready for that? And I know you probably just spoke to that, and also any tweaks in the mindset with that. Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's as much a mindset change as it is an understanding that you've got to show up and play every single night, and you've got to do your job, and it's that simple. And individually and as a team, and the great teams get everybody's best shot. And I'm not saying we're there yet, but we're in a position that being ranked, and it's just a simple concept. Just show up and work hard and do your job, and the results will take care of themselves. And that's the way we're trying to handle this process.
I think this season we've heard you talk a lot about scouting report and paying attention to the scouting report, maybe, if I remember, more so than last year. Is there something different in the way that you're presenting it to these guys or asking them to digest it during a game?
The way we're playing is forcing us to. There was a lot of actions last year that people couldn't run against us because we wouldn't allow them to catch it. This year we're a little bit different there. So there's a lot more, I don't say a lot more, there's a different type of scheming involved in terms of how we guard guys coming off screens, because of their ability to catch. So it's a different type of scheming. Guys have had to dial into scouting reports and understand personnel very much in terms of which way we're forcing things or what we're doing, and so it's a little more complicated that way.
All right, I'll go. Drew said he's never gone this long in his life without a turnover. How does that speak to his growth and what he's been able to do, and just giving himself a chance to succeed in your team as well?
Yeah, it's remarkable at this level. I mean, go 5 games without turning it over, and I told him today. I said, I don't want you to play to that. I don't want you to not try to make plays. thinking about whether you turn it over or not. I need you to still make the right basketball play. And he hadn't thought about it. It's probably my fault for bringing it up. But he's playing so well and running our team and getting us into stuff and the initial thrust. Yeah, it speaks volumes to him. I mean, he was a guy that just shot, and that's all he thought about was shooting it and shooting it and shooting it. And now he's guarding. I mean, in my opinion, he's the elite on-ball defender in this league. And, that's where our defense starts, and it starts with him with the ball in his hands on the offensive end. So right now, that's a really, really good starting point on both ends of the court.
Well, this is basically just all coincidence, but the games against Northwestern have had some significant moments last few years. I mean, your first Big Ten game, Trent's first breakout, Kofi commits last year, your first Big Ten tournament win. Just kind of how do you view maybe that matchup and maybe good things? And
I guess I learned something new every day. I didn't know all that, but I don't put any more significance on any one game. In a regular season, it's Northwestern. They're in our state. They're very well coached. So I guess I don't look at things like that, Scott. And that's your guys' job. I look at it just from a very basic point of view of it's our next game, and it's we got to go, play, we got to continue to get better, and that's the way I look at it. But that's an interesting side note that I didn't know, but. I look at Northwestern at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and we better be good.
Brad, follow up on Trent, 11 points away from 1,000 in his career. You had said you had challenged him a couple weeks back to kind of get more aggressive on the offensive end. How have you kind of seen his offensive game kind of mesh with that, what he's doing on the defensive side of the ball since then?
Well, I think we're seeing a very well-rounded player, and I think our balance on offense, whether it's Trent, whether it's Io, whether it's Dre, whether it's Kofi, whether it's Georgie, Allen, we're starting to see our balance come through, and that's making us a very tough guard. And for Trent to be able to maybe shift gears or change a mindset a little bit, where it doesn't have to be him getting 15 to 20 shots every night. And that says a lot about his character and his understanding of the game and his willingness to want to win. So, it's an awesome feat to reach 1,000 points, and when that happens, we'll celebrate it. But I know we've got one heck of a college basketball player on us that does a lot more than just score points.
Could you talk about Kofi's progression offensively from the start of the season to right now, versus like how he does on reads, seam cutters, making the right choice on offense?
Yeah, he's getting better at it every day. I think early in the year with some of our non-league games, I think he physically just overpowered some people, and that's okay. He has the unique ability to go do that, but I think that's where he's been. I talk about him being a sponge, being a great listener. Those are the things that he's got to understand. I told him today, just not accepting a block out, how important that is by just trying to get around that block out. Let that guy continue to block you out, but it moves that area and opens that area up, so maybe somebody else comes in and gets the offensive rebound. And him just understanding all of those little sidebars and tidbits, how important they are, and how physical contact impacts, Io getting downhill for a layup because he seals because he ducked in. All those things are growth things for him, and he's continuing to understand. He's continuing to learn.
I'm sure you're looking for improvements in all areas. Any in particular that were a point of emphasis this past week that you focused on in practice? Yeah,
we've got to continue. We've spent a good amount of time working on our ball screen stuff, or defensively, and then offensively, we've because of Northwestern, we've spent a good amount of time on zone offense. We've been really, really efficient throughout the year in zone offense, but an extended time, and then we've added a few other actions in our man stuff to continue to grow and add things. Excuse me.
Io talked about keeping that level head, the never high, never low. I'm assuming you recruit players who have that mindset. You can read that, but is it a point of growth from, as they go through college to not get too high and get too low?
Yeah, you experience it all. We wanted to have an energy about them when we start a game, and I think we've struggled with that at different times. Miami, in particular, but I think there's a habit that's formed every single day by working hard, and no matter whether it's a practice or it's a game, you show up and you do your very, very best, and that's all we're asking. And not to get too high. Now we've won a few games and we've beaten some good people, and we can move on to the next. Enjoy the moment and have fun and enjoy those winning locker rooms. But understand that there's the next day there's work to do again, and that's the beauty of the regular season. And 20 conference games is you don't get to enjoy much very long, and you can forget about a bad one and move on to the next. And so I think we're maturing in that area a lot.
What's been the progression of Andres and Io and Trent about playing off the ball? I mean, it seems like once they get to this level, they've always had the ball in their hands. Your connectivity on offense seems like you have three guys that now understand how to do both.
Yeah, and again, we try to put those guys in different actions and different spaces to be available, and I think that's been a work in progress for us. It's just as important, your spacing, where you're at. We had, like with Io early, getting him to a corner to create spacing. And when you understand if he lifts out of that corner, he's cutting Dre or Trent's space off where they can move. And when he was on the ball, the same thing. Everybody's got to learn how to play and where to be and do those things, and they can still be just as effective without the ball, because we're going to put them in different positions to do that. So it's been a little bit of a process, there's no doubt, and we're very effective in our transition and our initial thrust, because guys will get out and run, and all those guys can do that. It's a luxury because they can all make one or two dribbles and get to the rim or make passes. So it's something we've been refining, I guess is the right word, all year long with those guys.
How much of an impact do you feel like maybe having a fairly set rotation with starters and then Allen, Kipper, Dre off the bench mostly, having on just the run that you've been able to make?
Yeah, it's huge. Role identification's big. I mean, guys understanding their roles, guys accepting their roles, guys growing into their roles, and understanding that, some nights those may mean more minutes, some nights those, as Wisconsin, it was, foul trouble created a certain issue, but understanding that they all provide something that's very important. Allen's providing great energy. Dre's leadership at both ends of the court, his ability to beat the defense off the bounce. Kipper's been defensively very, very good. His and sound, his ability and to put the ball on the floor and drive it. All those things are starting to play in, and guys are accepting that, and that's been a big part of it.
Brad, I know it's not even a full season yet, but with the three-point line adjustment, how do you like or not like what it's done for the game, the kind of flow, the kind of defenses and offenses that are out there?
I haven't thought about it that much. I mean, it's shrinking the game, shrinking the court. It's impacted it. I think we'll have to see at the end of the year. I don't know. I couldn't tell you numbers right now, but I feel like the game is, it doesn't matter. I think Michigan State was number one in the country in offensive efficiency going into the Purdue game. They were 2 for 18 from the three. And I don't think we're seeing as consistent of numbers. And coaches are, for the most part, most of you guys don't think so. We're pretty smart. We're going to guard guys that don't shoot it. And you're starting to see a lot more of that.
Anything else?
Thank you. Yeah, no.